The divorce papers hit the kitchen table with a thud that echoed like a gavel in my skull. My husband, David, stood across from me, his jaw tight, eyes cold as a November rain pelting the windows. The room smelled of burnt coffee and regret, the kind that clings to your skin like damp wool. I stared at the papers, their crisp edges mocking the mess of our marriage, and my fingers trembled as I reached for them. "What is this?" I asked, my voice a cracked whisper, though I already knew. "Exactly what it looks like, Sarah," David said, his tone flat, like he'd rehearsed it. "I'm done." I laughed, a sharp, ugly sound that scraped my throat. "Done? After 12 years. You're just done." My chest tightened, a fist squeezing my lungs. I wanted to scream, to throw the papers in his face, but instead I said the stupidest thing possible. "You know, I always joked I'd cheat if I knew I'd never get caught. Guess I should have tried it." The words spilled out, reckless, a desperate jab to wound him back. His face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, pity, maybe, or disgust. He turned and walked out, the front door clicking shut behind him. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I sank into a chair, the papers staring up at me like an accusation. My hands shook as I flipped through them, the legal jargon blurring into nonsense. Irreconcilable differences. What a sterile way to describe the slow death of love. The kitchen felt too small, the air too thick. I poured a glass of wine, the bottle's neck clinking against the rim as my hands betrayed my nerves. My phone sat on the counter, its screen dark but heavy with secrets. I'd noticed things over the past year, small things, easy to dismiss. David's late nights at the office, his phone always face down, the way he'd linger in the shower like he was washing something away. I'd laughed off my suspicions, told myself I was paranoid. But now, with those papers burning a hole in my reality, the doubts crept in like roaches. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through his texts, something I'd never done before. My heart pounded, each beat a warning I ignored. Most messages were mundane. Wake, his brother, a reminder to pick up milk. But then, a name, Claire, a co-worker, he'd said once, just a friend. The texts were innocuous at first, lunch tomorrow, and great job on the presentation. But further back, buried in months-old messages, I found it. Miss you already. Can't wait for Thursday. My stomach lurched, the wine souring in my throat. Thursday, the night he'd claimed he was working late. I set the phone down, my hands cold as ice. The kitchen clock ticked, each second a hammer against my resolve. I wanted to call him, to scream, to demand answers, but fear glued me to the chair. What if I was wrong? What if I was right? The wine glass sweated in my grip, mirroring the clammy panic under my skin. The next morning, I drove to his office, the city a blur of gray and glass. The building loomed, all sharp angles and corporate sterility, and I parked across the street, my car a cocoon of dread. I didn't know what I was looking for, just something to confirm or deny the gnawing in my gut. I sat there for hours, my coffee growing cold, my eyes scanning every face that passed through the revolving doors. Then I saw her, Claire, blonde, poised, her laugh carrying across the street as she stepped out with David. His hand brushed her back, a gesture too intimate for just friends. My breath caught, sharp and jagged, like I'd swallowed glass. I followed them, my car trailing theirs through the city's arteries. They stopped at a cafe, one we used to love, its windows glowing warm against the drizzle. I parked a block away, my heart a war drum. Through the glass, I watched them, her hand on his arm, his smile too easy, too real. It wasn't the stiff grin he'd worn at home for months. This was the David I'd fallen for, the one who used to make me laugh until my sides ached. Now, he was giving that to her. I drove home, the city light smearing through my tears. The house felt like a tomb, every corner heavy with memories. Our wedding photo on the mantel, his favorite mug in the sink, the bed we hadn't shared in weeks. I poured another glass of wine, the bottle nearly empty now, and sat on the couch, replaying every moment I'd ignored. The late nights, the excuses, the way he'd stopped touching me. I'd rationalize it all. Stress, work, life. But the truth was a blade, and it was cutting me open. I called my best friend, Mia, her voice a lifeline through the phone. His leaving me. I said, the word choking me, and I think he's been with someone else. Mia's silence was worse than any reply. Oh, Sarah, she finally said, her voice soft, pitying. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted, my voice breaking. I don't even know who I am without him. The next day, I confronted him. He came by to pick up his things, his suitcase already packed, like he'd been planning this for months. The living room smelled of dust and abandonment. The furniture we'd picked out together now just props in a tragedy. Who's Claire? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. His shoulders stiffened, but he didn't look away. She's a friend, he said too quickly. Don't lie to me, David. My voice cracked, betraying the anger I'd tried to cage. I saw you. I saw her. He sighed, rubbing his temples like I was the one exhausting him. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I shouted, my hand shaking. Because it looks like you've been screwing someone else while I've been trying to save us. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw guilt, raw, unfiltered. It wasn't planned, he said quietly. It just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you. The words were a punch, stealing my breath. I wanted to hate him, to scream, to claw at the truth until it bled. But part of me, a pathetic, desperate part, wanted to beg him to stay. How long? I whispered. 6 months, he said, and the room spun. 6 months of lies, of stolen moments, of me sleeping alone while he built a life with her. Why? My voice was barely audible, a plea more than a question. He looked away, his jaw working. I don't know. I was unhappy. We both were. You felt it too, Sarah. Don't pretend you didn't. The accusation stung, because he wasn't wrong. We'd been drifting, our marriage a ship taking on water. But I'd stayed, fought, loved him through it. He'd chosen to jump ship. You could have talked to me, I said, tears burning my eyes. We could have fixed it. Could we? He asked, and the doubt in his voice was a fresh wound. You stopped seeing me, Sarah. You stopped caring. That's not true. I snapped, but the lie tasted bitter. I'd been distracted, consumed by work, by routine, by the slow erosion of us. Had I pushed him away? The guilt twisted, a knife in my chest. He picked up his suitcase, his eyes softening for a moment. I'm sorry, he said, and I hated how genuine it sounded. I never wanted this. The door closed behind him, and the house swallowed me in its silence. I sank to the floor, the divorce papers crumpled in my fist. I thought of my joke, I'd cheat if I knew I'd never get caught, and laughed, a broken, hollow sound. I hadn't meant it, but maybe I'd wanted to hurt him, to test him. And now, the irony was a noose. He'd cheated, and I'd caught him, but the victory was ash. I was alone, surrounded by the wreckage of a life I'd thought was ours. Days later, I found a letter tucked in his old dresser, one he must have forgotten. It was from Claire, her handwriting elegant, intimate. I love you, David. I know it's complicated, but I'll wait. My heart stopped, then shattered. Not just an affair, a future. He wasn't just leaving me. He was building a new life, one where I didn't exist. I burned the letter in the backyard, the flames licking the paper as tears streamed down my face. The smoke curled upward, carrying away the last of my denial. I'd loved him, flawed and human, but he'd chosen her. And in that moment, I realized the betrayal wasn't just his. It was mine, too, for ignoring the cracks, for pretending we were fine, for joking about infidelity when deep down, I'd feared it all along. The divorce papers sat signed on the table, my signature a shaky confession of defeat. But as I watched the ashes scatter in the wind, something shifted. I wasn't just a victim. I was a survivor. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find a way to rebuild without him.